Welcome today to our session, Building Digital Industry Ecosystems. And I'm very happy to have you join us today. So let us do a quick of housekeeping before we do introductions and then get into the topic. Today, it's myself and Bernhard here talking about this topic. And please, we will be discussing the topic through for the first few minutes, and then we'll do question and answers. However, as we speak, if you have ideas already, or as you have some questions that come up, please open then the Q&A button of your webinar and start typing, because we also have in the background a technical senior product manager. So if it's very technical questions, he will read them right away, and we actually might answer them in the chat live while we're speaking on the topic, and otherwise we can also just start weaving them in. So please do that. I appreciate it, but for sure we'll have a Q&A session at the end. So to start with, who are we? I'm the CEO of CrateOM, Eva Schönleitner, and I'm joined by Bernhard.
Hello everyone, my name is Bernhard Zimmermann. I'm Director of Business Development at Zühlke Austria and also partner of the Zühlke Group.
Excellent. Well, welcome, Bernhard. I'm really excited to have you here today.
Thanks for having me.
That'll be great. So before we get into the topic, let us briefly explain why the two of us and how is this relevant to the topic. I'm going to give blatantly, I'm going to start first since I'm controlling the slides. So CrateOM is a technology company, and we actually have two core solutions. One is a database, a foundational database technology for operational analytics, very much to the target of our topic today. And the second one, second solution, actually we launched today. We launched last week. It's CrateOM. It's actually a solution made for smart manufacturing, and I'll be talking more a bit about this one. So especially application, also to our topic of data-driven ecosystems today. Otherwise, we are, as I said, technology company, US-based, and have offices in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, in addition to the United States.
Yeah, so some words about Zühlke Engineering. Zühlke was founded more than 50 years ago from Gerrit Zühlke in Switzerland. So our headquarters is in Switzerland, but we now have locations all over 10 countries in Europe and Asia. We have a team with about 1,400 employees or engineers, and we are an innovation service provider, let's call it that way. So we are doing cool hardware and software projects, which means we are implementing cool stuff like the Crate technology in our projects, and this in several segments. So our main core is engineering in hardware and software, and this is where our heart beats for. And within this round, I want to introduce some of our concepts which we're using and how we integrate the CrateOM technology to have a real benefit for your projects.
Excellent, thank you so much. So let's get into the topic. Why have we even picked this solution, or why are we even picking this theme? I mean, you all know that basically pretty much every manufacturer out there is looking to how to digitize and further improve operations and everything around in the manufacturing industry. And so when we look at the market, I mean, it truly is exploding right now. We're clearly moving out of the pilot stages and the many tests that have been going on for the last years, and now into really rapid adoption, supported by brand new technologies that we have in the market. Everything from hardware, like I've listed there, like robots and AGVs, to underlying technologies, what we're talking today, to actually experts like Bernhard's team that basically then knows how to help customers in actually driving along the stack to smart production and smart manufacturing. And you can see it in the numbers of the industries of those analysts, and pretty much all the analysts are aligned in a very high growth, because now we're moving from basically pilot stages into really operational production stages. So as part of this, we also looked at that. And the question is, okay, how do you become one of these companies that moves along. And so Bernhard, I'm going to give it to you of how you seeing companies actually kind of derive these benefits.
Mm-hmm. Yes, of course. So the topic today is you're building a digital industrial ecosystem. And this always means that you have to implement the concept of a data-driven company in general. So what does this mean? This means that you have the right data at the right time, at the right place. So it's all about getting your data in your company in a flow and treat your data in your company as open data. So there are no silos anymore. You have all your data, and usually you have them in the raw format to build up pipelines and to support business cases. And there are typically three scenarios where you use this data-driven concept if you have set it up in the first range. So the most relevant for every company is always doing better, leaner, and faster processes. So it means you use your data to optimize your, for example, shop floor processes or supply chain processes and some kind of this stuff. The other topic is always you have to make decisions within your plant management, for example. So you need data from different departments, maybe different plants, if you do some kind of trending or benchmarking, and you use this data for your decision-making process in every segment you're in. And the third one is always the hardest one. We call it radical innovation, which means you build up a completely new product or a completely new service, which is maybe unique in your segment. And there you need to have this kind of data platform in the end to realize these processes, always in combination with digital services. And maybe if you switch one slide to the next slide, yes. And how is this concept be done? So what does it need to become such a data-driven company to realize these three, let's call it three segments? So you always have to have the question why you want to do this. So you must have a vision why you want to become a data-driven company. And of course, you have to think about what you want to realize. So data always means you have not only the data available, but you want to do something with it. And it always goes with data analytics, for example. So the second step is, if you have your vision designed, is to define your portfolio, what you want to achieve. So there is always an artificial intelligence or data strategy in the first place. And then you identify the use cases you want to realize. And of course, you need some kind of foundation, which means you have to collect your data, you have to make your data flow, you have different storage concepts, different storage technologies. Governance is a big topic, also security. So who can access this data? Because as I said before, it means that you have open data within your company. But open means not visible to everyone. So authorization is also a big topic. But it means that you have all your data, and the one who needs this data has this in his own area where he can use this data. And this means that you have this foundation set up, and then you realize the portfolio or the use cases you defined before. So you go up to the next stage, to the analytics lifecycle, which means that you do something with the data. And of course, as I said, this could be a completely new digital service. It could be shop floor optimization and so on. And from our point of view, you always need, and I think you can think about what this graphic means. You have this lighthouse project. So you always have to have one project which goes in the front and where you have the most benefit for the company. And from our perspective in the manufacturing area, CrateOM is such a technology which you can implement very fast. So we call it always the fast lane, because you can have a lot of benefits if you have this data flowing in your company with the CrateOM solution on top. So this means you can show them value of the data very fast to all of your participants in your company. And then it normally evolves, and there your employees think about new use cases, new technologies, and so on. And then you can implement these use cases on the basis you have built up before. And this is where we want to get with this data-driven concept. So make your data flow, treat it like an open data. And of course, you always have to store this data in raw format, because you don't know which use case is the next one. And maybe you need data which was filtered before. So our advice is also to have this data in raw format. Then you can set up your data pipelines and support these use cases you defined. And timeliness is also a big topic, because for example, we use a Crate database behind to also have this real-time data available if you need it for a use case, for example. So there's a lot of combinations, and CrateOM is for us a good solution to have the fast lane and to show the value very, very fast within the organization. So up to you, Eva. Maybe you
can thank you so much. I mean, that totally plays in really two areas. And you see the CrateOM was up there on the lighthouse. I'll get to this in a second. But before you even get there, you need to have this fundamental data strategy. And then what you're showing there, Bernhard, this foundational structure, process, people competency, the governance, and also the technologies. And this is where the ecosystem comes in. And so as part of that ecosystem, basically, for being a data-driven company is where the hub comes in. You start with a central hub of data repository, the one that Bernhard talked about. In this case, I'm suggesting, and I can offer to you the CrateDB. It's a database. It's an open source, open standard database where you can house all this operational data, structured and unstructured. So unstructured means also like sensor data, images, videos, geolocation data, to basically then tap into, like what Bernhard said, in raw format, to tap into and slice and dice and pull as you need. And then you can pull very fast. And so what this is, as you're thinking about an ecosystem for your data strategy, and then industrial data strategy, you need certain layers, the edge, the cloud providers. You need this foundation of the center where the data sits, in this case, this database, and then the applications on top, surrounded by security. And so what we've built is basically super high performant database that can be this operational hub of the part of the data strategy that then basically can hold all the diverse data, so you can actually have it in mass, highly scalable and very fast, and you actually do something with it. So the big difference versus like a data lake where you're just basically sitting there and you occasionally pull something. And this one is you want to actually do something, so you get to this data-driven analysis and actions in a very kind of from very fast to speedily fast. So where is this applicable? We said we're talking about IoT, and it actually comes in many, many industries, as you understand. And we're going to hone in on one as an example. It comes in many industries of IoT. Of course, we immediately think of manufacturing, because that's where IoT started, but the whole supply chain up and down, and then expanded in with logistics, transportation, right into then smart cities and buildings, energy, and so on. Basically, it ripples all through, and this is where such a strategy is, and an ecosystem is applicable in the same way, based on the different use cases on top. Today, I'd like to speak about where just we, for instance, with this Crate database, I mean, we have a number of customers in these use cases, but today I'd like to hone into something that Bernhard mentioned, and it's the manufacturing area, and it's something about this lighthouse of how one can very rapidly have a full application and get the benefit of a smart factory solution that then you can basically build upon within an ecosystem and your strategy of that. And so what we implemented is and launched just recently, a good week ago, is CrateOM. It's basically a smart factory solution. It's very centric on people, and it's centered around enabling the personnel, the operators, the managers, the maintenance crews of factories to help them throughout the day, and also throughout the day in regular tasks, as well as managing the factory as it runs in real time. We are basically addressing alarms, addressing even predictive trends to basically optimize operations. And I'll show you in a second what this is and what I'm talking about. But basically, it does three things. You can standardize the internal processes of factory operations very easily. It's a mobile application. I'll show you a little video in a second. So that the operator, the supervisor, and other roles in the factory can basically know throughout the day what they're supposed to do. check things off, and you standardize in a very easy manner operations very quickly. You basically become the helper, and you supercharge the operators in the factory with modern technology to do their job much easier. This drives operational efficiency, the combination of the process, the standard things, plus managing the live plant, alarms, notifications, and predictive trends, while of key machinery and operations. And it obviously drives clear OEE, meaning operational efficiency benefits. The third one is this isn't just for one plant, this is for your whole organization in terms of manufacturing plants. There is a global visibility, so don't just at one level, but the global level, so you can compare and contrast. You can manage your plants via that and have visibility what is going on. So instead of me talking abstract things, I want to show you something, and I'm gonna stop sharing here for a moment because I have a secret video expert here that will run this a few seconds of the video of what I'm talking about here.
Level. With Alpla Smart Production, we aim to develop a solution that identifies problems real time on the production floor and then provides a solution support system as they encounter the problem. Therefore, we introduced CrateOM because the system has huge advantages for us with this idea of a process monitoring and process flow digitalization. It's scalable, which is important to cover at the end stage 180 sites, and it allows us to take the learnings from the different sites and with that continuously feed and improve the operating system, and with that create more impact on the floor.
CrateOM is a smart factory.
Okay, good enough. We don't need to see me double talking here. Thank you so much, expert video shower, team member. So let me go back. So what did we just see? First off, the person speaking there is actually the CEO of the global manufacturing company where we implemented this solution. The name is Alpla, and while you might not know it, they are a market leader in plastic packaging, meaning bottles, such as they make bottles for Coca-Cola, or also when you go into grocery aisle and look at the soap dispensers, the dishwashing liquids, any of those bottles, basically, good chances they come from Alpla. And so they have 100 and something 80 factories. And today, because they're a Lighthouse development partner and Lighthouse customer, we run what you just saw in 20 factories today, both in the US and in Europe. So what is it, what you've seen here? You saw your mobile application. It's not just mobile, but it also comes in a tab, and there's a web interface, of course, as well. It's a SaaS solution, so very easy to implement and to manage, especially. We can manage it. We manage it as a SaaS solution for you. It comes in the cloud and on the edge. In our first deployment, we actually team very closely with our partner, Microsoft. So today, out of the box, we have it on the Azure cloud. But I am looking forward to also demonstrating this in other clouds as well for you. It connects with in this case, with the MES system. I'll get to that in a second. Basically drives in real time all the machine data, including also sensor data, not just alarms, but also sensor data in real time, does analysis on that, and basically notifies within, in this case, a 2-second SLA, 7x24, the operators, if something doesn't go like it should go. From a kind of functional view, what you can see is it has various modules. The blue ones, the darker ones, are the ones live today. And where we're sort of mobile app part, where the rules engine, where you determine basically what, let's say, what the operator starts with the day, so step by step by step. So it's very easy to set those up. There's also embedded live videos in there for training, which is done and can be easily done and added by the operators themselves for their new peers or somebody else, of course. But basically, you don't have to go read stacks of manuals as the new employee trying to learn all this. If you get stuck on some question, you basically just with one little tap, you see the real machine, the actual one or item or whatever in the plant with a little bit of explanation of what to do and what to do in the next step. The user management is very advanced because that is the crux of making this very customizable for our clients. And Bernhard said it, there's a lot of data in this application because we're pulling all the data, or select as you choose. But in this case, we're pulling, let's say, the data from all these plants. It's managed by plant. So who sees what and who cares to see what? It's not even who wants to see what, but how do you get the right data to the right person? So to have this by a type of role-based user management, specifically made in this case for our first release for manufacturing plants, both discrete and process manufacturing, is where there is our core strengths on this one. The notes, what is that? Notes is these notifications. Basically, if I go back to our use case here, so I'm pulling all the machine data and is specifically interested in the alarms if something goes wrong. And so we're centralizing all alarms from the factory into this one app. And not only the alarms, but also predictive measures based on specific sensors that we've installed or the customer has installed and wants to basically hone in on certain things. So this notification of what gets notified, who gets notified when, by what, and for what, this is that part of the application. As I said, it comes in the cloud as well as on the edge. This is very important on the edge based for two reasons. I'm sure as you as manufacturing experts, I'm not telling you something new here, but one, availability and speed of the internet. We are working with the second customer already in Asia, and they are telling us that the broadband is not reliable enough to have an SLA of the 1 or 2 second delay or notification. And obviously, if you have a factory running, you can't just wait for something to tell you 10 minutes after the fact that there was a problem. This is really, really not good. So you want an edge application, meaning you run it in the factory, and then occasionally sync up asynchronously to the cloud, and also not all data, but maybe only select data of what you choose. The second reason may be that some customers have, in the larger framework, a security framework where they'd like to run all factory data first in the factory, and then, as I said, select things into the cloud. And that's also why we enable the edge. Where does it tie in? That is a good question. So I mentioned in our Lighthouse customer, we actually tied into the MES system, so the manufacturing execution system. This is how we built the architecture with our customer. Machine data goes to the MES, which is also where the logs go in for quality assurance later. And then from there, the data comes in real time to our application. This is one choice of doing it and totally works. We could also take it directly out of the machinery itself. Or we could also, for instance, we're also working with somebody else that basically installed some kind of edge platform that solves the problem of taking the diverse machine data and sensor data into one central location and then streaming it from there. And we basically are an application on top of this edge platform. So this works totally. And I'm eager to basically hear from you of what kind of data infrastructure you are desiring to have. And somebody like Bernhard's team can obviously quite help, because this is exactly what you do. What they do to help through these thought processes. What is the optimal way? What works best? One also is to consider, is there lags and delays in some of these applications beforehand? Because what I'm talking about needs to be real time or near real time, very fast and continuous. So not an occasional update. That wouldn't work, of course. So what does this do in the end? You heard what it does, but really it does a few things. One, it had hard benefits in terms of operational efficiency. In this case, for the Lighthouse customer, they are able to run they were able to lower their raw material input, meaning how much plastic granulate they use for these bottles, to the very lowest end of their allowed range by their customers. And so it was a significant cost savings because of the predictive analysis that is happening. As soon as a machine trends to go towards, especially the lower range, the workers immediately get notified before it even triggers an alarm or has a problem. So the predictive part. This way, it was a huge cost reduction. The second one is, of course, also around the employee gear up. If you have a high turnover in your factory, this application is really good in getting new team members up as rapidly as possible and also standardizing operations across factories. And it obviously then you see sustainability targets based on customers. And to be honest, there was an intangible benefit as well, great and intangible one, for my employee hiring, because we all know as consumers, we're used to having smartphones and cool applications at the touch of our fingers. And now being able to work on being an attractive employer, of having a leading edge factory with leading edge tools that apply to the worker as well, quite a make the company very competitively strong, let's say this way. So to sum it up here, what is this solution? It's convenient and seamlessly integrates with our open standards. We integrate into different layers based on the customer's needs. The second one is highly flexible. So as you realize, oh, I want to hone in on a certain machine. Let's say I installed a new scale of some sorts, and that scale triggers alarms all the time, way more than it should. Then you obviously there's an issue. You can basically hone in with new notifications and really hone into this one. Maybe it's just one machine. Maybe it's just the same machine across multiple lines, and very quickly basically create new alarms and new notifications. That then let you hone into the problems and improve them quicker. And because this is a global visibility, and because it is a SaaS application, all the data eventually, based on, of course, how you choose to do it, but you have global visibility of what is going on across. You can compare and contrast. You can also add machine learning on top of this, or AI, but machine learning to continuously improve, to see trends, and to put basically the data to work. So what do? We launched the solution end of November of 2021. And so we are now in what we call an early adopter program. Why am I saying this? Is it not working? Yes, it works great. I just told you. But to the point of the slide earlier from Bernhard, this is we built a solution out of a huge lighthouse project. And so now I would like to give a few other customers, the first few other customers, the opportunity to really have direct impact on the roadmap. We have a very deep roadmap and lots of ideas on the roadmap. What I'd like to do is give these customers a chance to help prioritize. Example, today I mentioned the solution is a SaaS solution on Azure, on the Azure cloud. If a customer desires it to be on some other cloud, and this is critical, then we can very quickly do this because we just ensure it gets deeply entrenched. Why is this easy in the sense? Because I didn't quite mention it, but the CrateOM solution has the Crate database solution embedded as the data hub of housing all this data. And the database solution is available on all clouds and in the cloud and on the edge. So this is basically an application on top. Other ideas include embedded, or interoperability with certain machine learning tools. If a customer already has a chosen stack in the sense of the foundational tools for data, then I would like to just start with that versus I'm not one to force a customer into something else. If a customer then says, no, what we have today doesn't really work, let us find something else, then I will definitely have some recommendations. But my goal is always to be open and to interact and interface with as many tools and systems as possible, including ERP systems and MES systems. So the first few next customers get the direct interface to our product team. Impact will be able to impact the roadmap for the second half of next year, and obviously get special attention. So the good question is, how is this special attention going to work, and how can Bernhard's team actually do some support and put in the framework around this? Because what I was just explaining is I'm a database foundation where the data can go in, and I'm an application on top that needs some implementing. And so here I have the implementation partner, or one of our key implementation partners. And doesn't Bernhard explain how it actually works if you're interested in doing something like this?
Yeah, perfect, Eva. That fits perfect to a question which is already in the Q&A section. And this was, what is the difference between CrateOM solution application, MES, and an IoT platform? I think this is quite good, because this is exactly what I'm addressing now within the slide, because this slide shows you what are the typical challenges if you want to implement such a solution, or if you want to do the first steps into a data-driven company. And the foundation is exactly the topic which I want to answer with the Q&A question. So data comes from every single device, every single machine, but also every system from your company. So IoT is one basis for doing the CrateOM solution. So it's not either CrateOM or either IoT, it's all of them. So you need an IoT platform. In this case, Eva mentioned that this solution is a SaaS solution on Microsoft Azure. So you could use, for example, Azure IoT Hub as a platform for collecting all your machine data. And of course, edge computing is also a big topic there. So in the first step, you have to get the data directly from the machines, for example, from a control unit, or from your MES system, if you have one, and also from your ERP or CRM system. So we bring this data in a flow, which means it flows through the whole company into your CrateOM platform, and then you can do the use cases. And CrateOM is a wonderful application to have the first use cases set up as a complete solution. And we take care of that you get the data into this flow and on the data platform. So this means we are connecting, for example, your machines. So we have embedded engineers, for example, who can directly connect your control units. And you do not have to wait for a common standard across your company, because this is also a challenge, because some companies say, okay, we wait until every machine supports the OPC UA protocol, for example, but you don't have to wait. We can make the connection now, and this is always our part to get an overview of the machines and systems you're using, and we make your data flow. So we make the APIs to make this connection to the data platform. So this means collecting the data with edge computing technologies, for example, and cloud computing technology is the main core of us. So we make these connections work. And of course, this goes with the competencies. So this sets up the foundation. So normally you need to have embedded engineers to connect these machines. You need to have data engineers who know where to store the data, in which format, which use case you're supporting. And Eva also mentioned that you can do artificial intelligence like machine learning. Then you also need to have data scientists. So we know that not every company has set up these competencies yet. And this is also where we as Zühlke play an important part, because we normally have a combined project team, which means that we get the know-how transfer from our specialists to your specialists. So we're also setting up this competency together with you in your company. And the typical challenge also at the analytics lifecycle is that there is no business adoption. And this is always because things take too long before there is a value. And this is exactly why we're using now CrateOM to have a real added value very, very fast. So everyone can now see, hey, we have this data and we're doing something with the data. We have, for example, alerting out of this data. And this is where all employees see, okay, this makes a real benefit to have a data-driven company. And then you can have the next step. But CrateOM is a very good solution to have a very first implementation. Eva, you want to?
Yeah, can I maybe add to it? Because the question also says, well, is this an MES or is it an IoT platform? The answer is no, it's neither. I see it as supplemental to both or either. why am I saying this? Because right now the focus of the CrateOM is people-centric. So it really is basically it helps the employee in the factory to manage the processes. And MES is more than that. Well, an MES doesn't have this to start with. I would maybe see it as a wishful extended functionality of an MES. That would be really great. The MES is also here for logging, for Q&A, for proof of issues for later. That is not there. The focus is to help the employee make the steps that are necessary and also to get to the problems in the most efficient way. Not even, oh, there is an alarm. Of course, there is alarms. I mean, we've had alarms in factories forever, ever since we did the third industrial revolution. But now the trick is, okay, is this an important one? Or is it not an important one? Is it something you can wait for a while, or is it totally critical? I can then take on the problem. I'm taking this, or no, I'm doing something else right now, setup of some machinery, but there's a critical alarm. I send it to my colleague, and the colleague may be at the other end of the plant, but then at least they know, versus nobody goes there, or 3 people go there. And so this is what it is. So the application really helps to manage the plant in a more efficient way and very worker-centric, versus a replacement of an MES or some platform.
Yeah, thanks, Eva, for adding this. It was, yeah, that's totally true. Yeah. Yeah, and maybe one of also the typical challenges is that the proof of concept gets stuck. So this means normally it takes, it is a very, let's say it's a very complex process to setting up these data flows and building up the data pipelines, because you have to connect the machines, the services, you have to do the storage concept. And this is something where we concentrate in the first step together. So this is where we can have a huge benefit for you to set up this together, because we have done this several times now, how to connect very complex machine parks or shop floors. And this is which is in our DNA, and this is what also is the most relevant topic in the first step to get these data flows. I can always repeat this because this is a very important topic, because it also goes with the last topic, the inactive data innovation pipeline, because you have to make sure that this data flows very fast and a lot of machines are connected, a lot of systems are connected, because if you have the data available, then the use cases show up automatically, because the employees think about, oh, what can I do with this next? And as Eva said, if I can forward something to my colleague, and all the colleagues have always good ideas how to maybe optimize a process. And if you have the data already available, then it's very, very cool to have another application set up based on this data platform, and there you can create a huge benefit. And then you get into the motion of doing more and more use cases, and then you have a real data-driven company and you make the most value out of it. Yeah, maybe you can switch to the next slide. And yeah, I also want to show you some of the quick start offerings, because it's always hard to get the first step, because the topic itself is very big. But if you divide it into maybe 2 starting points, I would suggest you 2 of these offerings. The first one is our digital boost camp, which means that we sharpen in this phase your use cases, and also think about the technical solution you can have about it. So this is more or less the first starting point if you're in the definition of use cases from the business perspective. And if you're more in the data area or in the technical area, we also have an offering called Industrial Data Check, where we go over your data. We have a look at your machines, your systems, and have a first step how to make this data flow. So this data check is something very technical. We go through your data. We show you how can this be organized, how can the data pipeline set up, and then we put the use cases on top.
You know what? I just noticed something. Both Bernhard and I didn't notice this because I'm sure you heard it on our accents. We're German speakers, but this is German. I think when we send you the slides, hopefully we can finagle this into English so everybody can read it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But I hope I could explain it to you in English. So yeah, you're right. Absolutely. we can change this, yeah, with the English version.
Exactly. So to the point, I saw another question that says, well, I mean, I'm interested in now CrateOM. How do I do this and how do we start it? So the first question I have, yes, the easy thing is you probably want to take a look at it in terms of like a little demo system beyond our very nice looking video, a bit more of what it actually is on a mobile device. And then probably test it out on some like test lines, or not live in a factory, but if you have a practice test line somewhere where you do innovative new concepts, that would be the way to go. And that way you would know immediately, very quickly, of whether this fits in and how it fits in. And also you can see, oh, I have these other solutions from a technical perspective, does it integrate? So you don't have to distract a factory just yet. I think you do basically in techno speak technology evaluation, but basically you'll take a look at it in a test environment, and that really should not go long at all, quite quickly, because like I say, our offering is a SaaS. You would also likely start with just a SaaS, because just to see what it is, and dependent, I know we have global audiences here, so depending on which country you're at, then we will make sure that the right system integrator comes to you and with us. But as I said, Zühlke is in many countries, you've seen it beforehand. But if for some reason you're in one where Zühlke is not present and they just really can't help us here, then we'll find a plan B that also works really well. But that, I think, would be the start, and how to get geared up on something like this. Bernhard, any more thoughts from your side?
No, I think that sums it up very well. So I think, as you said, CrateOM is for us a really good solution to have a first fast step to show you the value of a data-driven company. And I think it's worth to have a look at it, because I think it's a very good starting point if you're not already into this topic. And if so, then let's have a talk and see how CrateOM can make up new use cases which maybe you haven't thought about it so far.
Yeah, I appreciate this. Anybody has any other questions? Last warning here, please type fast. I'm trying going once. I'm speaking slowly. Going twice. All right. Well, if you have more questions, you have our emails. We will promise to try to finagle everything in English, and you will get the slides afterwards, and there is our addresses in there. You can also find us on LinkedIn, and I'm very much looking forward to speaking with you, and so is Bernhard, about data structures, ecosystem, how it all fits together, and how to build something like this. I appreciate it, and thank you, Bernhard, for having you and joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Eva. Thanks.
Thank you.